Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I am your host, and I gotta tell you guys, 2019 is just, I know it already, it's going to be a fantastic year. I am so excited because I'm starting off the first Monday of the year with one of my very best friends in the world. And we've never even met face to face, which is insane. But this lady has an unbelievable story, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But she has an amazing story. She's been on the Dr. Oz show recently. She's been on Megyn Kelly show on NBC. She's been all over the just everywhere. Like this woman is amazing. So I want to, without any further from me, I want to welcome my dear friend, Cherie Aimée, to the show. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ken. What an honor. I'm so happy to finally be on your show. I know you've been so patient with me.
Oh.
So thank you. And hi, everyone.
You're a little bit busy these days.
I am. That's an understatement.
Just a tad. And I mean, I have known you. How long have we known each other? 3-4 years?
It's got to be 4 years by now, right? 2015. Is that? Well, we met at the beginning of 2015. So, yeah, the summer.
Right about, wow. That's unreal.
That's when Periscope launched.
I know. So I was surfing through Periscope one night, and I came across. I think somebody shared your stream, or I saw or something, and and I hopped on there, and I just saw the radiant glow coming out of you. And you may have been a little bit high on chocolate that night. Or something sugary.
Yeah. It was chocolate cake.
Yeah. So, and you, you went into your story.
Yeah.
And you were like, I don't know if I really want to get into it. It's kind of long. And I was sitting there thinking, no, get into it. I want to hear it. And it was one of the, I'll never forget that night. It was one of the most amazing stories and 4 hours of my life.
That you'll never get back.
No, it's phenomenal. So, look, this show, I created this. I started this back in April, I think, or March of last year. And, I've interviewed some major celebrities and entrepreneurs and great people, but you are one of my favorite people on the planet ever. And as you know, I've been stalking you, trying to get you on the show, and you've been
literally, guys, stalking me,
stalking you. But it's because the show's Breakthrough Walls, and it's to help people that are stuck have a breakthrough. And you, of all the people I know, had the most incredible breakthrough ever. Ever. Seriously. And there's no reason for people to stay stuck. And I'm excited for you to share some of your wisdom and knowledge. You're incredible. So let's start with where you were born and raised. Where was that?
Where was I born? I was born actually in Queens, New York.
Queens.
But I spent a good part of my childhood actually in Westchester County, New York. probably the first half of my childhood, and then the second half of my childhood I spent in Connecticut. So I feel more like I grew up in Connecticut, but also, always going back and forth to New York City. So I would definitely say that whole scene between Connecticut and New York City was definitely the vibe I, grew up around. So very, very driven people, going places, doing big things in the world. So I definitely had that background. And
sorry.
It's okay. I'm like, as long as that wasn't me.
That was me. That was me. My volume was up. Sorry.
But yes, I grew up around people that were, just very driven. But the mentality was also, do good in school, play sports, do extracurricular activities, go to a good school, and, and get a great job. So I definitely had that type of background growing up.
Yeah. So you went to school, high school, all that in Connecticut, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then even college, I went to Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you major in college?
I was a history major, actually.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Love history.
Were you going to be a teacher?
I think I thought at one point I was going to be a lawyer. Oh my God. Can you imagine me being a lawyer?
Yes. I can imagine you being anything that you want to be. Like, you're amazing. So you were going to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, there was one of two things. I was either going to be a lawyer or I was going to go into investment banking. That's pretty much what everyone around me did. So
Yeah.
it was one of those things where, Ken, as you start to get older and you start to learn from experience and you start to see the bigger world out there, the bigger possibilities that are out there, it's so funny for me to think back at the stress I was under in college. I literally thought my only two options for the rest of my life was to either be a lawyer or investment banking because that's what everyone around me was doing.
Right. And
So
you're that kind of person. You do everything everyone around you is doing. Not.
Well, what's really funny though is back then I kind of was. I always marched to my own beat, but I definitely would say, this can be a very deep conversation. I'm sure all of you can agree with this, but I just remember when I think about, and we're going to get into my near-death story, but when I think about my life prior to my near-death experience, I just remember never thinking I was a leader. I was always good at school, good at things. I could excel at work and excel at business. But I was always trying to please someone. I was always trying to fit in with the crowd.
Yeah.
And, to be honest, even somebody like myself that grew up in a, mostly white area, white neighborhood, schools, all of that, there's a level underneath everything that tells you, you got to somehow fit in. Because whether you like it or not, you are different from everybody around you.
Right.
And so there is this level that I grew up with of constantly trying to make sure that my skin color, or my gender was never a hindrance to my success. Right?
Yeah.
Or even just to make friends.
Yeah.
So, it's really funny when I think back, although it's not funny. It's actually pretty sad.
Yeah.
Because we are raised like that, and society teaches that we have to fit in. So, to stand out from that crowd, to reach any kind of breakthrough that steps you beyond the norm, beyond what society tells you is acceptable, takes a lot of guts, a lot of courage, and a lot of belief in yourself.
Right.
That that is not often taught. You're not going to learn that if everyone's showing you. You've got to fit it.
That's right. So you came out of college. What was the first thing you did? I mean, I'm assuming you went into the workforce. It's on some scale. What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, you're right when you say. I mean, pretty much anything I put my mind to, I could excel at. So at one point, I got out and I was like, okay. I think one of my first jobs out was I had an opportunity to be a teacher. And I felt like, well, that was so natural for me. I'm not sure that I really want to do that right now. And so I thought, okay, let me go into the corporate world. And I started working at AIG on their trading floor of all places.
Oh, wow.
And all I remember is going into my seat, them showing me my seat. Here's your seat. It almost looked like an auditorium that has like rows of seating. Where
wow.
you literally have to get in on one side of the row and walk all the way down into the middle to your seat. That's where my desk was.
That was that was your
yeah,
what?
Yes, and I got paid a lot of money, but I remember my desk being in the middle of that row. Sat down, and you had everything you needed, including from your computer. You could order your lunch, your dinner. And it would just be delivered right to your row, right to your seat. And I remember thinking, oh, this is really cool, because you're just out of college and you're like, wow, like all this service, right? And then you realize they're trying to just keep you locked in that seat.
Right. You're like, wait a minute, somebody's going to show up with a branding iron. I know they are, right?
Oh so, yeah. Gosh. So, and then I'll never forget just, I was managing, my God, trillions of dollars. It was when I tell people about this job, they're like, how in the world did you get that?
Wow.
But I remember also hearing the men like just screaming under so much stress because it was a trading floor and, throwing things, swearing, standing on desks, throwing chairs. And I just remember being like, this is the most bizarre environment.
Sounds like a scene right out of Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes, exactly.
Jeez.
So, yeah, it's funny how I landed that job too. I landed it because I did not want it. And because I didn't want it, that energy came through of like this toughness almost because I was trying to ruin the interview. Because I felt guilty it's a long story, but I felt guilty like I had to take the job. So I thought, well, maybe if I just blow the interview, I won't get it and I don't have to worry about taking it. Well, instead, my attitude, it turns out they started loving it.
Oh, jeez.
And they kept inviting more of the executive team in to interview me.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
I came off with more attitude than ever before. Then they came another executive, more attitude. Wow. Next thing I know, they said to me, "You're hired," and I was like, "Oh."
Oh, wow. So you did did you say, "Hey, did somebody got a smoke in an ashtray?" That could have ruined it, I guess. But they probably would have given you one.
I think they would have given me one.
That's funny. So along the way, so you did that. How long did you do that?
I didn't last very long there. It was not the environment for me. And I was like, there's something about me too. Like I've always been able to make money and do whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes I used to think it was a curse. If it's not the right environment or if the values of that company don't match mine, I won't last very long.
Right.
I'll leave and go find something else. So it's been a journey, but I ended up finally finding my love in computer programming. So that's where most of my 20 years has been in being a programmer. And then I eventually started my own tech firm.
Wow.
And had, 20 people working for me, and it was very successful very quickly.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, how, and I mean, I know you still dabble in that a little bit, and I mean, you got a lot of irons in the fire. We won't go into all of that, but, like at some point, and you were like still in your 20s when you started that, right?
Yeah, I started my first company in my 20s. It hit six figures within 3 months.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at some point though, you had a life shifting, life changing, and I don't want you to go into the whole thing. Well, you can. I just have other appointments today. I'm kidding. But at some point, you had a big life shifting occurrence happen. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much at the height of this new business taking off, I also got married. So there was a lot of stress going on between running a business, having people working for me, and also just having not only launching like my first startup without any kind of funding, but to achieve success so fast. I mean, when I launched my company, the minute I opened doors, I had 12 signed clients already.
Wow.
So I was not prepared for that. And so a lot of the success was really a lot of word of mouth. And I had built such a reputation in the industry, just in tech, especially being a female, programmer, which was very rare back then and still.
Yeah, right. Yeah. True story.
Yeah. So, so things progressed really fast. So it was very stressful because I didn't have mentors. There wasn't really social media, so I didn't have Grant Cardone to show me how to scale the business.
Right.
So there was a lot happening. On top of that, getting married, I was just under a lot of stress. I was marrying into a family where I was going to have instant 4 stepkids. So it was a lot hitting at once. And my youngest was 7. So, it was a lot going on. And in the midst of all that, 2 months after our wedding day, I found out that I had cancer. So I underwent 6 months of chemotherapy for that, trying to still maintain the company, not really telling any of my employees because I didn't really want anyone to worry.
Right.
So imagine going through 6 months of chemo that's accumulative and not being able to tell anyone.
How in the world did you pull that off, or did you?
I did pull it off. It was very difficult, but I had an amazing team. So, and I think, just that go-getter in me just, kind of took over, It was hard. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. It was one of the most challenging moments of my life.
Right.
So I thought at the time. And so, so the company maintained itself, but afterwards, I was cancer free after 6 months, and I just had this other view of life and like really what was important. And I started questioning, was my energy and my skills, best serving these types of companies or these types of businesses? So my brain already had started questioning, really like, what's my purpose in life? What's the meaning of my life? What am I doing this all for?
Yeah.
And it was shortly after that, about 8 months later, after being declared cancer free, that I suffered cardiac arrest. And my husband had just gotten me to the emergency room probably 10 minutes before I flatlined right in his arms.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that's when I, underwent CPR, and, they were not successful with CPR at all and were ready to call my time of death within the first, 5-10 minutes. and one doctor in that hospital room who happened to be my doctor, which was very rare for him to be on call on a Saturday. Wow. Because he was literally the director of cardiology, so the whole department. So he happened to be on call. He ordered everyone like a drill sergeant to continue with CPR, and they continued for over 90 minutes, still no heartbeat.
So technically, like, you were dead.
Yeah, I mean, I had no heartbeat this whole time.
Wow.
So, you don't know at that point, am I brain dead? Right? I mean, right. That's a long time.
Yeah.
So, when you think of like these doctors, these emergency room staff that have to make these quick calls, I mean, it blows my mind to imagine what was going on through his head, that he thought he could still save me after 90 minutes.
Wow.
And so they continued with CPR long enough for him to install temporary life support device. And then by another miracle, he happened to know some contacts at New York Presbyterian Hospital in New York City, which is literally one of the top hospitals in the world for cardiothoracic, heart issues. So they actually came, they brought their whole surgical team to Connecticut
Jeez.
to get this young lady that had no heartbeat for hours at this point.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and switched me over to their life support device, rushed me back to their hospital in New York City, and began open heart surgery. And the first surgery was, I believe, over 16 hours, which is a really long time.
Holy moly. That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So, wow. So, okay. So obviously before they took you into open heart surgery, they got a heartbeat at some point, right?
No.
No?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No. When I arrived, I was DOA.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, wow. I've heard it before. I don't know that I've ever heard you tell this story where we weren't laughing, though. Probably because I was being a jerk. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to start calling you the dead girl. And you were cracking up. Like, you're a miracle. You're a miracle. And I think that the comments on Facebook Live right now are just going absolutely crazy. But I want to say that, and I know everybody asks, and I'm not going to ask you to go into details because I know you can't go completely into it. But what are some of the things, because you had, like, it isn't like you just like, yeah, I was out for 90 plus minutes and nothing really happened. I was just kind of dormant there. That's not what happened, is it?
No. No. The minute I flatlined, I went into this whole other realm. That, to be honest, it took me a long time after this whole incident to figure out what it was, because I had never heard of it before. And what I had was a near-death experience. So I remember knowing that I 1 minute was alive and the next minute I was dead.
Did you know you were dead?
Yes, I absolutely knew.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow,
because
I just got chills.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember the first thought was, wow, that was really easy.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That was easy?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why, because my whole life death was probably my biggest fear ever.
Wow.
I was terrified of death. And it's not something people talk about.
Right.
So you're just kind of silently terrified of this looming thing in the distance that you don't quite know when it's going to happen, yet it happens to all of us. And yet it's not acceptable to talk about it.
Why do you think that is?
I think because, you know what? I could sit here and say because it's the unknown and people are terrified of talking about the unknown. But you know what? If you go back in history, I don't think that was the case. I think ancient history, if you look at how death was celebrated, not in a way of like, oh great, so and so is gone,
right?
But the celebration of life. I mean, if you look at any kind of ancient tribal, ancient civilization, ancient religions, it wasn't feared as much as we do now. So, there was definitely a point in history, not to get into all that, but there was definitely a point where society was, it no longer became acceptable to do certain things that past cultures used to do and still do to this day. But I have a feeling that religion has a lot to do with that. And so over the years, we've now become conditioned that there are just certain things you don't talk about, and you go to certain sources to find comfort on topics like that.
So does it boil down to people are just afraid to talk about it?
Well, yeah, I think because, well, think about it. Like for me to come out and share my near-death story, there's a couple things that happen. Number one, maybe you just don't want to hear about it because maybe you just lost a loved one and the topic terrifies you, or you just don't want to know because to you, it's easier for you to just wrap up that part of your life and move on.
So as you already know, because you and I've had like not just 4 hours of watching you on Periscope, but you and I have talked on the phone for hours and hours and hours and hours about everything in life, right? And I have the privilege of privately asking you questions like, hey, like, and I'm sure that people always are like, well, what? So, okay, is it Buddha or Jesus?
I get that all the time.
Or Muhammad, or who is it? And I don't want you to get into all of that unless you feel like it, but what are some of the things what are some of the things that you after this experience, because you came back and you came back with a vengeance.
I did.
You really did. And because that's the thing is, but what are some of the things you came back that had shifted for you as a result? Channing Gardner said, and is Elvis there?
That's funny.
Oh my God.
I haven't been asked that before, so that's a first.
That's a first, right? Oh my gosh. So you're like, yes, thank you very much. But so what are some of the shifts? Because I know that you had some major shifts.
Yes.
When you came back, what are some of the things that occurred that gave you that shift?
Well, when I was in the after realm, we'll call it that, I actually experienced my lifetime review. So I got to, what that meant is that I got to experience all over again every lifetime that my soul has ever had.
Wow.
So, and that's a lot to take in, because when I say every life, I mean future, past, present, happening at the same time. There was a lot going on, which always brings in its own multitude of questions.
Sure.
But that's what I experienced. And during that review, I was shown why I had died in the first place. I was shown why I got sick, why I had cancer. I was shown why certain themes were constantly showing up in my life. So, sometimes people have constant themes of, always having a lack of money, or always having poor relationships, or, just there's something in your life that tends to always be repeating itself.
Yeah.
And I discovered in this review what that pattern was, because it showed up literally attached to my soul in each one of these lifetimes. And so I realized at the end of this lifetime review, which, by the way, I didn't mention, but when I crossed over, I did not want to come back. I was ready to go. I was like, this is heaven. This is beautiful. I feel light as a feather. I always had felt like such a burden on others in my life. That was just the conditioning I was in. So I just remember feeling so free, like, well, everyone could be happy now because I'm no longer a burden. I'm happy. My soul feels light. So I was ready to move on.
Wow.
I actually didn't want to come back.
I have a question for you though. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned the life. You went through this life review process, and
Yep.
and it in real time it probably was like that, but. And I don't know. I'm making assumptions like, yeah, well, I was there, but I probably have been there before. But like, did you feel like you were you judged? Did it feel like you were being judged, or
during the life review? No, it was more just, it was as real as us talking right now.
Wow.
So just imagine going through that. With one lifetime in India, one in Japan, one here. Sometimes I wasn't even a human. I was maybe some type of sea fish.
Wow.
So I got to experience the connection of us as humans to everything around us.
Wow.
So yeah, it was very, very powerful. But what I witnessed, including my own funeral, that was one of the things that I witnessed, which was very painful. Very painful. But I learned after all of that nothing was going to change unless I could identify why that theme kept attaching to my soul. Like that was the biggest revelation, was that was my sole responsibility from here on out.
Wow.
Was just to make sure that I clear that.
Wow.
So that's the point that I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to my life. I'm ready to go back with this clarity, this awareness. And now I know that everything that I had been doing in my life up till my death was all wrong. It was all backwards. It was all a conditioning that I was told that kept me from my true essence and my true mission in life.
Wow. Holy moly, moly, moly. Holy Mother of God. Literally. Like, okay, so wow, I don't even know. Like, the more, every single time I talk to you, I hang up and I'm like, wow, it just blows me away because you have, I mean, look, you were chosen. And I hate to put it that way, like you're the little boy on that, the you know what I'm talking about, the Close Encounters movie or whatever, but but you were chosen, you were given this gift of rebirth after death, literally. And I talk about it all the time, like, look, you are, everybody watching this, I have very bad news for you. You're going to die. I say that all the time, like it's going to happen. And I think that people have I've always thought this, I don't know if it's true, but I've always thought the human ego has this unbelievable inability to understand the finality of this flesh passing, right? It just doesn't get it.
Big time.
But you did. You got to experience that. Glenn Lundy is on here. Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Glenn.
I love Glenn. He's amazing.
I know.
So you went through, you went through this. It actually happened, and you were given the gift of coming back here and sharing some insights with the world.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's amazing because I always say I have the gift of gab now. First of all, when I first came back, I didn't talk for a full year. I don't know that you know that.
I knew that actually, yes.
Oh, did I tell you that?
Yeah, you told me.
Yeah, I did not talk for a year because
wow.
I was mind blown, and I
don't even know what to say.
But also, I was like, what is this world?
Wow.
Like, I was like, what is this world? For a year.
Wow.
Like, this world did not seem real to me because there was so much potential in the other realms.
Mm.
And so I was like, why are people talking to me? Like, you didn't have to talk to one another in the after realm. It was all telepathic.
Wow.
So, like, what's normal for me is to just sit in a room with somebody and be quiet. And to me, we're talking, right?
Yeah.
So I came back, yes, with a lot of gifts. Well, number one, the gift of awareness. But number two, the gift of tapping into senses and being able to see the world no longer in a linear fashion, but in a whole interdependent, multi-dimensional framework.
Wow.
I mean, I see it with my eyes all at once as if you were to take a snapshot. And it's funny because I used to say this to people and they were like, what are you talking about? But I don't know how to explain it any other than it's part of why I excelled so fast on social media. Like, that's my secret.
Yeah.
I'm going to write a book on that secret.
Right.
And it's because I came back with these senses, this ability to tap into what other people are doing on social media at once, right before I post something.
Right.
And it sounds very bizarre, but it's real. And it's where my confidence comes from. It's where this confidence to know that it doesn't matter if you try to copy my work. It doesn't matter if you try to steal some, whatever it is that I'm doing, it will not work for you the way it works for me.
Right.
Like, so there's never a competition in my mind because to me, we're all so different with all our own unique skill sets and superpowers, I like to call them.
Yeah.
And when we learn to come together, each with those unique traits, the value and the power that comes from that is enough to really shift this entire planet. And so that's kind of the big perspective that's always in my world every day.
Wow.
It's not so much focused on the little things like, oh, there was a spelling error here, or, oh, this person's getting mad at me for this. It's so broad now. And so that's part of how I was able to heal while I built this social media presence. It's because I took myself out of my own problems.
Yeah.
And into a position that I could support other people with just the wisdom coming out of my mouth randomly.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And without a format, I was just trying to survive another day. I was trying to recover.
Yeah.
There was no like funnel system or this or that. It was just me pouring from my heart authentically as I'm surviving, right?
Yeah.
And because I just stayed true to who I am, it allowed me to stand out very, very quickly amongst everyone else. And that is one of the biggest lessons that I learned and that I came back with, is this knowledge that the way to really achieve your heaven on earth, your dreams, what your true mission is, on this planet, is to stop looking around at what everybody else is doing, because they're operating from a place where the world has told them this is how you need to be so you can end up here.
Right. So do you think that that's what, I mean, because I always ask, like, what do you think the number one thing is that holds people back? And the most common answer to that is fear. But what is it that you think? Well, you don't think, you already, like there's no thinking. You absolutely, you're the only person I think I know besides maybe Grant, that what stops people. What is that?
You have not accepted yourself for who you are. So what that means is that you are never enough for yourself. You are never enough. So you will never trust your judgment. You will never trust your intuition. You'll never trust that your nose looks okay. You'll never trust that your hair is long enough. You have not accepted yourself as a whole human, as a whole being, spiritual being that was born to be exactly who you are. And because of that, you distract yourself your entire life with this and this and this. Well, this person said this to me, so that means if I do what I want to do, then they're going to be pissed. So all of that, your reasons for not having enough time, your reasons for why you've gained weight, all of that stuff, I get it. It's real. It's just as real. This was a harsh truth that I had to stare at myself in the mirror and say to myself. So whatever I'm saying today, I've said it to myself. And it is that one shift that allowed me to excel despite every obstacle standing in my way. And that is that I had to finally look at myself and I had to go one by one, and every thought that came up where I judged myself for not being good enough, I had to go and forgive every single one of those thoughts.
Wow.
One by one.
Wow.
Like literally right down to your toe. And once I started doing that, something magical started happening. And I started freeing up space in my body, in my cells, on the cellular level. I started freeing up this random tension that had been held in my body year after year after year as I grew from a baby to a toddler to a little girl to a teenager to an adult to where I am today. I realized that this beautiful baby that started off loving her toes, playing, babies play with their toes.
Yeah.
They're laughing. They're in awe at the world, right?
Yeah.
Look at the fascination of the world. Somehow we get to be adults, and that's all gone. And what is it replaced with? It's replaced with 100% judgment of ourselves. No one else is judging us. I will promise you this. No one else is judging you. It is you judging yourself.
Wow. So you haven't been sitting there judging the bad lighting I have and how I'm like all washed out?
I forgive you. I forgive you, Ken.
I love you. I love your perspective on everything, and it's not like. Well, let me ask you. I don't.
Well, can I say something quick?
Yes.
The word fear is way too general. Way too general. You will never break through anything if you don't dig further than the word fear.
Oh, I love that.
Way too general.
So okay, so, wow. That is really powerful. The word fear is way too general. You will never break through anything if say that one more time.
If you don't go deeper than the fear.
If you don't go deeper than the fear. And so you're saying that the common thread, the common theme, the common thing that people are that's holding people back, that's causing them failure after failure in these common themes you were talking about is generally self-judgment.
Absolutely. That's the only judgment there is on this planet.
Really?
The only.
Wow.
And I want to recommend to everyone right now, just take a really deep breath in and out. Because what I'm sharing is really, really energetically massive.
Jeez.
And I want you guys to take this in, because this goes beyond a self-help book. This goes beyond any training you could possibly pay for. This is actually something you can do yourself. It just requires you believing that there's something worthy enough in you to do something about it.
So here's the thing. First off, you did it again. I'm sitting here like numb. You did it again. And not in 4 hours. You did this in 49 minutes and 5 seconds. Wow. Okay. So the only judgment on this planet is self-judgment. That is one of the most powerful statements that if you really put yourself in the right mindset and really take that in, that is probably the most powerful statement ever. So wow. So, okay. My mind is mush right now. Sorry. I was going to ask you a question. What are you like? Putting juju on my questions, or I'm
well,
kidding.
let me do
gone.
this.
I had a question about what you were just saying. Darn it.
Well, let me do this until you remember, because this happens a lot when I do interviews. Like, there's always this point where the interview is just so blown away that they don't really know what to say. And so what I would say is, what are you feeling right now? I mean, not to turn the whole thing back on you, but like,
yeah,
I think it's indicative of what other people think,
yeah,
or are thinking when they hear me speak.
Well, I think here's what I was thinking. Okay, because self-judgment has been my life story. Just like, and I think that anybody that says that it's not for them, they'll lie about other things too. So now that I see it from this perspective, you're 1,000% correct. So, but what about the guy that attends? Because I know you do a lot of public speaking. You speak all over the world, which it started in you were eating chocolate cake in your bedroom one night on Periscope, and I was there, not in your bedroom, on the Periscope. Jeez. So, but that's insane. But so people go, they read these books, they go to these seminars, they listen to you speak. We hear Grant Cardone speak. We hear, all these different people speak. We get this motivation and we walk away going, yes, it's self-judgment. I know, I got the answer. Hallelujah. Praise Jesus. And all of that. Right. And so, but then they get back into their life. And they forget that they're judging themselves, or they forget that, all that motivation goes away. So how do you keep it? Because you are steady with that.
Yes, absolutely. So here's the thing. Before you figure out how to keep it, you have to ask yourself, do you even have the courage to do what's required of you to live a life that's going to go against the grain?
What's that mean? What do you mean go against the grain? My little brother's on here, and he's a professional golfer, but he also sells insurance. So, his goal, his dream is golf. It's him. It's every fiber of his being, right? But it's it won't make him enough money to sustain his life and his family and all that. So how do you tell somebody like that, hey, dude, you got to live your dream, man. You're going to die and you're going to come back and have to live it anyway, or whatever. I'm again making assumptions, but
yeah. Number one, I love that you use the word assumptions, because assumptions is part of linear thinking. I don't think we think about that. I think a lot of us, especially entrepreneurs, like to think, we think outside the box, and no, I'm pretty open-minded.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, well, there's more.
Right.
And assumptions are, what's the right word? Assumptions are, I'm trying to think of a powerful word that I can anchor that word to, so that you no longer assume again.
Right.
Because here's the thing. When your brother thinks of the idea of doing golf full time, what you said was, but that's not possible. He thinks that's not possible because it would never make him enough money.
Right.
What's very interesting is, as soon as you said that, the first thing that stepped into my mind was, oh my God, he could make so much money with that.
Right.
So I think so that's something you have to look at, that why is it that I can look at that and think of this endless world of possibilities of how you could make money with golf, and yet someone else can say it's not possible. And the difference is, it is the difference between that linear thinking or going outside of the norm, breaking through your assumptions. And those assumptions are part of that linear thinking that you've been taught to think your whole life.
I love that. Love it.
Right?
You're right.
So a lot of times I talk about dimensions, and hopefully I won't lose any of you, but if you're a two-dimensional piece of paper laying on a desk, and let's say it actually was aware of its surroundings, if you all of a sudden put a three-dimensional ball around it, it can't see the three-dimensional ball because it's coming from a two-dimensional perspective.
Mm.
And it's the same as you go higher up. It doesn't even know what 3-dimension or 4-dimension or 5-dimension looks or feels like in order to even see it. So when you're still in a linear type of thinking, very just straight and flat, right? Very three-dimensional, meaning you're only seeing what's in front of you. That's your perspective of the world, and what can actually take place is I am just looking at the information I'm getting from what I see reflecting back to me from my current world.
Right.
Right? That's that linear thinking. My perspective on golf is, let's go beyond what we know how golfers make money. What if we were to start thinking of ourselves like our own entity, our own brand, our own personal brand, our own thought leadership platform? What if you took my brand, Cherie Aimée, and tomorrow, just like I did with blockchain technology, tomorrow I decided I wanted to take up golf. And you guys know how I do whenever I try something new.
You go all in.
Right?
Yeah.
And guess what? Because I have this platform, because people want to hear me speak, and I just happen to play golf.
Right.
Guess what? I'm going to get paid to play golf.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the key to me building this brand that I have now that landed me on NBC Today show with Megyn Kelly, Dr. Oz show, and traveling as a paid speaker around the world. When I met you, Ken, it had just been a month or two of me crying on the edge of my bed.
Yeah.
I couldn't walk. I couldn't even feed myself when I met you.
Yeah.
I had somebody feeding me, Ken, when I met you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But did anybody know that extent on Periscope? No.
Nope.
You guys didn't know the full details. But
Nope.
you knew I was recovering, but you didn't know the full details of my everyday life.
Right.
I had to think outside of the box. I had to think beyond the linear thinking. I had to think beyond, oh my God, I can't even stand without 3 people holding me up. Oh my God, somebody else has to feed me. I have to roll myself in my wheelchair to the bathroom with better lighting to actually compete with the other influencers on social media.
Wow.
How am I ever going to become known? Right? So if I were to look at just the wheelchair, the fact that I was literally 112 pounds at 5'7.5", could barely brush my teeth. I couldn't do anything. If I were to just look at that, imagine, Ken, if I actually focused on all of that.
Right.
Because it would have been justified.
Sure.
It would have been justified for me to stay in bed, recover, and just say to myself, it's over. I can't do anything right now. I'll never be able to make money. I am 100% disabled right now.
Yeah.
I could have gone down that road.
Yeah.
But I chose to believe that there is a bigger world out there full of bigger possibilities. And that is part of my mission is I was given this gift of awareness. I was given this gift of the extent of the human potential, the human or senses beyond beyond smelling, beyond tasting, beyond our eyesight. There is more power to the human body. We have senses. You and me talking right now over virtual reality. I know you feel my heart.
Oh, yes, always. Yeah.
So what sense is that? Right?
Right.
That's more than just your eyes and your nose and taste, and it's more than that. There is something else that we possess. And all I did was I eliminated the fact that I physically couldn't get to anybody outside of my bedroom. I just said I will not let that linear thinking, what's right in front of me, stop me from the fact that I have the ability to give you goosebumps through the internet.
Right. Is that crazy? And it's like it's I've said this many times. Einstein said everything is energy in motion. And so I feel your energy. I feel it. I can close my eyes and listen to you talk and I feel it, right? I don't even have to hear you talk if I go deep enough. And that's what I think that people miss is the answers are all within. And you're saying that the very first thing you need to let go of is self-judgment, which would include worrying about what everybody else is going to think, or which would include that two-dimensional vision or view of the world, right? Like the piece of paper. What a great what's the word? The metaphor. Thank you. It's an amazing metaphor, and so let me ask you this, and we're a little bit over. I hope that's okay with you. But before you died, let's say maybe a week or two before, did you have any worries about your bills not getting paid, or this, or I got to get ready for this event, or this thing's coming up, and oh my gosh, what am I? And did you have those worries and fears before you died?
I was just full of fear.
What about after you came back?
When I came back, no. Especially immediately after, if you knew me probably the first 5 years after I came back, there was very little that, no, I mean, I really didn't. Once I made it through my heart transplant, in comparison to that, there's really nothing that scares me. What happens now is, and that's a sign for me to get back to my own daily rituals and things that I do to keep myself connected to this awareness, if you want to call it that, is distractions. I look at things as distractions now. So anything that's taking me away from my home, which is inside me, is a distraction, right? And it doesn't mean they're bad. It just means for right now, something is distracting me. And I need to go back in and within and focus on my inner world. And once I'm balanced back again in my inner world and I've got my perspective back, then I can go back out and interact with whatever, because my focus is internal instead of external. And there's one thing I want to share when you said, fears being well, what would people think?
Right.
You can even go deeper than that. I think that is still too general. Because we say that a lot. We're like, well, I can't do that because I'm afraid of what people are going to think. It's too easy. It's too easy. You see, when I work with people, it is not that easy to work with me, because I will make you do the work.
Right.
I will make you do the work, because let me tell you something, Ken. I have so much conviction in the wisdom I came back with. I have no doubt that I can change someone's perspective, within a single conversation. Yeah. If you maintain that level of mentorship or whatever with me, you will it will become ingrained enough in your daily habits that you won't have to worry about it again, right?
Yeah.
So nothing is a one-time call or whatever, but that's how powerful this wisdom is, because I'm not really telling you anything you don't know. I'm causing you to remember what your soul already knows.
Amen. I love
that's,
that.
Right? That's why you're speechless.
Yeah.
You don't know what to say because you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so, at your core, it's so real.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can do, because it's not a 5-step system. It's like I can give you a blueprint. You have to do the work. You have to dig deeper. The key to clearing any of these themes in your life is going deeper and deeper and asking the right questions. And thankfully, I know the right questions to ask. But that is one of them. Your fear is too general. I'm afraid of what other people think. That's way too general. Yeah. You're not afraid of what other people think. You're afraid of what you think. You are the one that it's not good enough for. You are telling yourself that is not good enough.
Love that. You're
right. It's not anybody else. And until you face that fact, you can never push through that, because it'll always be this distant excuse that you get to say. You get that privilege to cop out on your life. It's a harsh reality. But I need people to see, my role back here alive is not for people to like me. I used to be a people pleaser. It's not for people to like me. It's that I see the totality of every decision we make, the connection that all beings have. I see your potential. I see the bigger aura around you. I see the mass potential you have around you. And I see that there's one little dot stopping you from creating miracles in your life and the life around you. It's one little dot that you will do everything in your power to run away from that one little dot.
Wow. That's so powerful, Cherie.
It's true. And for me, that's where I have to accept that this is my role on the planet now. I may not have.
I was going to say, I see that, and I've told you that since I met you. Like holy crap, you've got a huge purpose. And I think we should. Time with you always goes by so fast. It's ridiculous.
I know.
But I don't want to go a whole lot longer. But I do want to. I ask everybody this same question. I'm going to be blown away by your answer, I'm sure. I'm a recovered alcoholic, and for many, many years, and I've got 16 and a half years sober. So I'm very grateful for that. But for many years. And even into sobriety for many years, I just couldn't figure it out. I had my car repossessed in front of employees one time, and that was really an awesome day. But I had, and the electric bill or this bill or that bill, problems always, and that common theme thing you talked about earlier. When after you died, you were given your life review and shown those common themes, right? I don't want to have to die and hopefully come back to get right. Like, we don't have to experience that, right?
No, okay. You don't. But the courage. So there's two ways it can happen. You can be jolted.
Yeah.
Literally back into yourself.
Right.
Which is what happened to me because I was stubborn for way too many years.
Yeah.
And that's for whatever reason, how my soul played out. It was like, no, you're going to wake up in this lifetime.
Wow.
You can do it that way, or you can find the courage within yourself to be okay with being different from everyone around you, because you can't have both. You can't fit in and know what I know. Like,
right.
It's just not going to work. Like, as much media attention as I've gotten, whatever, I don't fit in with the majority of, you can't invite me over to a dinner party and think that I'm going to talk about, or sit there and listen to, and I don't know. It's like, there's very few conversations, right? That once you've been shown like how the world works, like right. Your mind is constantly like, okay, E equals MC squared, like,
right.
You're not like focused on like these everyday things because they're distractions.
Right.
So you've got to be okay with that. I don't sugarcoat things. So I'm sure some people want to be all warm and fuzzy and be like, oh, sure, you can just awaken just like that,
Now, who were you mimicking? I'm kidding. So that, right. And you don't. And so let me ask you this. And because we've all been in those positions, and I ask everybody this question on the show that's a guest on the show. I've been in this position. Your electric's getting shut off tomorrow. You don't have any money to pay it. You can't hardly feed your family. Your car was repossessed last week. Life has fallen apart. Maybe you own a business and you can't figure it out or whatever. And they call you up and say, Cherie, these are all the things that are going wrong in my life. Yes. Please, God, please help me. I don't know what to do, and I need your help. I'm getting text messages right now about you, by the way. I need your help. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? My electric's getting shut off tomorrow. Everybody's starving here. What do you say to that person to help them get out of that, to help them get out of it here?
So that's interesting that you say that, because that's probably the majority of the sessions that I get through my website now, since I've taken my brand public, like more public, right, out into mainstream. This is the common issue the majority of people are facing. And and I really need you guys, and that's a great question, Ken, but also to all the entrepreneurs there. For those of you that are afraid to go out there and be a coach or a mentor or offer some type of service, you're afraid to charge what you charge. Most of the time, you're probably afraid to charge what you want to charge because you're comparing yourself to other coaches out there. I had a coach recently say something to me that my prices right now are too low. And I know what I'm doing. Right. I also know that I'm not here to be the multi-million-dollar coach that gets to show off about the million-dollar company that, I just built in 90 days. That's not my purpose in life.
Right.
My purpose is that I know that beyond the small entrepreneurial world, there's a whole world of everyday people out there with those same issues you just talked about.
Yeah.
And that's the majority that I get. And what I tell them, number one, they instantly feel better being on the phone with me.
Yep.
That's number one. Because people in that state feel helpless, hopeless, and are literally terrified. Like, beyond fear. It's a terror. It is like your entire foundation has no stability whatsoever.
Right.
It's a very frightening thing. And really what it is on a soul level, it's deeper than just my physical survival. It's something that goes deeper, and just being on the phone with me helps people to calm down and to think clearly. So your first step, if you don't have me, is to find someone that is just someone or someplace that feels safe, whether that's a lake, a beach, or wherever, nature, by a tree. All right. Find somewhere safe, because when you're in the midst of all that, your brain is going haywire and you will never be able to come up with the solution that is right for you when you're in that mindset. So number one is finding a place to get really safe so that you can actually tune in, because your inner soul knows exactly how to get you out of that situation. I promise you. I promise you. Number two, what looks like absolute devastation for you right now, such as the embarrassment of your car being repoed in front of your employees, such as your lights being turned off, guess what? You're still breathing. You're still alive. There's nothing real about that. Because you're still breathing, you're still safe, you're still with your family. It's the perspective shift you need to start thinking and accessing your way out of this situation. And you will not get out of that situation by being terrified of what the neighbors will think because your lights are out.
Wow.
Your lights being out for a month, you will survive. I promise you.
Yep.
You are still a living being soul. You are still here. Worst case scenario, you have a church. There is, I promise you, as bad as it feels, there is a next step before whatever is going on in your mind. You've got to get clear, you've got to get centered, and you need to find a safe space to allow your body, your mind, your soul to relax and tune into inside, which is going to give you your next steps. That's where the answers are.
I've never done a show this long, and I knew, and we both knew, we laughed about it, like we knew that we would talk forever. And I love you. We text back and forth all the time. You are amazing. And for any, like, my brother wants to connect with you. So, and there's going to be a ton of people. So let's end with, first off, me saying, I love you. Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know how busy you are. Number two, did I see that your interview with Dr. Oz has now had over 1 million views? Is that right?
That's the one with on NBC with Megyn Kelly.
Oh, over 1 million views. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the replay on YouTube. Yeah.
That's insane. And some amazing interviews you've had. Probably none as great as mine, but
of course not.
I'm teasing you.
Thank you, thank you, Ken. This has been absolutely incredible, and I appreciate you for not giving up on me and for being so patient as well. It's definitely been a wild year for 2018, but I'm so glad I finally get to be on here with you and everyone.
Oh, you're amazing. You're amazing. How can everyone that wants to, like, there's my brother just said, amazing isn't a strong enough word to describe her. That's awesome.
Oh, you guys are amazing. Yeah, if you want to connect,
how can they follow you?
Yeah. So my website, you can definitely add me on Facebook. Also, my website is CherieAimée.com. So CherieAimée, AIMEE.com.
Hold on, I'm gonna put it up on the screen, Cherie. It's
okay, perfect.
It's CHERIAIMEE.
Yep. .com.
Perfect.
And then if you'd actually like to book a session with me, you can go to, there's a page on there under the menu that says Work with Cherie. Mm-hmm. And so most people, if you've never had a session with me, you can set up just an initial conversation, consultation with me.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to book there's one called Ask Cherie, because people have so many questions for me.
Yeah.
That's usually the most popular one, where you get to jump on a call with me for an hour and ask me all your questions, and I can help guide you.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would love to connect with all of you. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time. I'm sorry I can't see your comments, but I feel your energy and I feel your love. Yes, and I would love to connect with all of you.
You're amazing. And by the way, she doesn't work for free, so don't ask.
See, that's when you know you have a great friend. Ken, you're awesome.
Well, I want Cherie, you and I have been friends for several years now, and I said it in my post, I think, last night, that I've watched you over the last 4 years just completely explode. And you're amazing. Like, you can help anybody that reaches out to you, no doubt.
Yes.
No doubt in my mind. So, thank you for taking the time. Thank you to everyone who shared this out. If you didn't share this out, shame on you. But like Leah Brown's on here. She loves you, of course.
Hey, Leah.
We love Leah. She's amazing.
Yes.
So I thank you so much. You're incredible. I could sit here all day and ask you questions, but you got stuff to do. But Cherie, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who shared this out. You guys have an amazing day. My wife's on here. Jill's on here.
Hi, Jill.
Yeah. So listen, thank you so much. You guys have an awesome day. Cherie, thank you. Make sure you follow Cherie. Go connect with her immediately. Thank you so much, Cherie.
Thank you, Ken. Love you.
Love you too. Thank you so much. Stay on Skype for me if you would for just a second.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Have a great day.
Bye.